Hello, I'm Janna and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today we're going to be having fun taking a look at all things metallic. The holidays is just the right season for some shine and sparkle, so we're going to be taking a look at all of the things metallic in the Tim Holtz and Ranger line. If you'd like to see exactly which supplies we're going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today we're talking about all things metallic, silver and gold and copper too. So in the world of distress, there are many things that can give us very cool metallic finishes. So let's take a trip down memory lane as we explore some of the older things in our craft stashes that are metallic. So let's start with distress paints. Distress paints come in three wonderful metallic colors. We have got brushed pewter, antique bronze, and tarnished brass. So put those right here. Then we have distress spray stain, and we do have brushed pewter, tarnished brass, and a antique bronze. I don't have the bronze with me, but I do have these two that we can play with today. Then we also have distress mica spray. Now, mica spray and mica spray stains are two different things. The mica sprays are just the mica. There's no extra added colorant in these. So I do have the tarnished brass and the pewter. There is also a antique bronze around as well. Now, let's jump over to distress crayons. We also have the antique bronze, tarnished brass, and brushed pewter. Now, if we go towards things that we are more familiar with in the present, we have got Frozen Fog and Decayed, which are lovely tones of silver and kind of a gold color in the mica spray stains. And we're going to be showing you how these are different from each other. Then we also have pearlescent crayons, and these are gorgeous. They also have a beautiful metallic shine. Today we're looking at Empty Tomb, Tart Cranberry, and Frozen Fog. Then we also have, of course, Distress Spritz. This would be the newest addition to all things shiny. So we've got Hickory Smoke and Frayed Burlap. Now, other things to make your projects shiny and bright for the holiday making season would also include Ranger embossing powders. We've got some gold and some copper today to play with. Then we've also got some sparkle, and this is going to leave behind some vintagey gold sparkles that are absolutely gorgeous. And of course, we've got classic craft stock. Now, the craft stock from Ideology does come in a variety of metallic colors. We've got rainbow colors, we've got classic colors, and of course, we've got gold, silver, and copper too. And I decided we'd play with this one today, and it's got a beautiful embossed pattern on it already. So now that we kind of know what there is in the world of distress and Ranger for metallic items to add some sparkle to your projects, let's take a look at how they look on paper. We're just going to do a little bit of a swatch. Let's start with the paints. So the paints, you always want to give these a really good shake. And I'm just going to put a drop down, and we're just going to take a look at how it looks on the paper. Oh, this one is brand new, so I need to take off the top. All right. And just grab a little of that. So this is the tarnished brass. And as you can see, you get a nice, lovely color. Now let's go ahead and we'll swatch out the antique bronze. I just need a teeny tiny bit. We're just doing just a little bit of color comparison just so we can see what we're playing with. Okay, there's that. Very pretty. Then we'll go in for some of the brushed pewter. There's our brushed pewter, a lovely silver. Now these are opaque. When you put them down, you can't see through them. They're very opaque and very pretty. Now, let's take a look at the crayons right underneath them since we have all of their matching counterparts. This would be the crayon for the tarnished brass. And just like regular crayons, it's smudgeable and it's got a little bit of added sparkle to it, which is pretty cool. Let's just zoom in a bit so we can get a closer look. All right, now for the antique bronze. There we go. And as you can see, these are a pretty good match, which is great. And the tarnished pewter. Okay. There we go. So pretty straightforward. These are lovely. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. And these are unique, and there are no others like this in the Distress line. These are, oh wow, what year did these come out in? Let's see, I wonder if there's a date on here. Okay, well, I don't think this is the exact date, but it says that this was manufactured in 2014. These could have come out earlier, or it just could be the time at which this was created, like bottled. So I'm not sure exactly on the timeline for that, but let's take a look. So we have the tarnished brass, and I'm just going to put down a little bit of that on here. And we'll just give that a little smudge. This too is opaque, and it's very pretty to use as a overlay on other colors. Now with these, just like oxides and Spritz and mica spray stain, you need to shake them to make sure that everything's nicely incorporated. And again, I'll just put a little bit of that right here. There we go. And it's very nice. So these are some options for creative fun. Now let's take a look at the micas. Now the micas are very interesting because, again, there's only 3 of them in existence because they are matching the paints, the crayons, and the spray stain. So very similar to the Spritz, these just have the mica in them, and there is not a stain for added color. It's just a mica powder in here that's suspended in some sort of carrier. Now, just like all the other things, we've got to give them a good shake, make sure that that's incorporated. And now we're just going to give that a tiny spray. So this is going to be kind of see-through. We just have the suspended particles, and this is just nice for a little bit of added shimmer. All right, let's spray this one as well. So same thing, you get your lovely spray, but you definitely can see through it. So like if you had a stamped image back there, you could just put a little mist of this over the top and you'd still see your stamped image through it. So let's just bring that a little closer just so we can take a look. Some of these are opaque and these two are kind of translucent. All right, now let's see how that looks next to the Distress mica spray stains. So these are newer. Now these have a stain and the mica embedded in them, and the mica in these is colored. So this is going to be more opaque. And this is Frozen Fog. That's a pretty good match for the brushed pewter. All right, so there that is. Just kind of very lovely color. And let's take our decayed next. And we'll just spray that right here. Okay, and as you can see, we've definitely got a stain because when we smudge it, there's more color than just the sparkle. So that is pretty neat. Now, we are going to fit in Spritz in here as well. Kind of like here and here. So for Spritz, we have got some hickory smoke, and that is going to be a lovely silver, but this mica is very different from other micas that we've seen so far. It's a little bit chunkier and a lot more sparkly. So there we go. Just putting that down. And we'll see more of this when it's dry. That's when the sparkle really shines. And while we're at it, let's put some frayed burlap down as well. Let's see, I can put that right here. All right, and again, the Spritz does not have a stain in it, it just has the colored mica, and it's very, very shiny. Now, little side note, we're going to also pull in the Distress Pearlescent crayons. And I'm going to put that right over here, kind of near the other crayons. So this is Empty Tomb. We're just going to put that right here. Very creamy, very solid. Definitely got shine. And I'm also going to put down just a little bit of Frozen Fog. There we go. So these are all of our mediums. Oh, I've got one more. We've got the Sparkle Paste. And I'm just going to put a teeny tiny bit of that down as well. This isn't as noticeable, but it's got really cool sparkle in it, and I thought, why not include it in all of this? Okay, so I'm going to dry this off, and then we're going to take a closer look at all of these different metallic options. Here is our dried swatch. So up here we've got the paints, then we've got the crayon. These are the metallic crayons. Then we have the 2 spray stains for metallic. This is the Vintage Sparkle, a little harder to see. Over here we've got the mica sprays. Then we've got mica spray stains, and then we've got Spritz. So as you can see, we've got a lot of variety and a lot of options for metallic fun, of course, including the whole line of Ideology metallic craft stock. All right. Let's dive in and start playing with techniques. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is taking a look at Sizzix in terms of metallic items. So for Sizzix, as you know, we can die cut pretty much anything we want if we got the die for it. And we also have the embossing folder option or the 3D embossing folders. So I die cut just a few things, and we have our lovely embossed item here. So for embossing with metallic, I love to add just a bit of grunge. And to do that, I'm just scribbling down some Black Soot Distress Crayon. So we're just going to give that Distress Crayon a good smush, and that is a very quick and easy alteration for a background with metallic. There we go, very simple, just a little bit of grunge to mute all of that beautiful shine. So let's go ahead, set that aside. Now, of course, when die cutting, we can die cut many things using metallic craft stock. But today I wanted to use some of these cute little bells from one of this year's vault sets, which is Holiday Classic. And there's so many fun Holiday Classic things, but I really love that little jingle bell. It is too cute. Had to use it. So let's see here. We're just going to need a little bit of collage medium, and we can stick these little bells together. Very easy and a very fun way to incorporate some metallic into holiday creations. So a little bit of glue. There we go. And we'll just put that right there. Good. And same thing for this one. Then we'll set these aside to dry, and I definitely plan on coming back to these when we create a card using some of our metallic creations from today. Okay, and that goes right here. Good. So I'm just going to carefully pick these up and set them off to the side. Next, we're going to dive into making some backgrounds. And we're going to start with some distress paint. This is probably the messiest one, but we'll have lots of fun making them. So I'm pulling in some mixed media craft stock, and we're going to pull in a few other colors of distress paint. So I'm thinking first I want to do something very Christmassy. So let's see here. I kind of want a lumberjack plaid. I'm thinking the tarnished brass, and let's go for a dash of rustic wilderness as well. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take this, and you know what? I want to bring in a craft mat because this is easiest when done with the marbling technique. Now the marbling technique is really cool, and it's where we're going to do a swipe and drag using distress paints. Now I first learned about this technique during one of the many Tim Holtz demo days. and it's become an absolute favorite for quick and easy backgrounds. All right, let's just try to center this up. All right, good. So what we're going to do, we're going to first put down a dash of Rustic Wilderness. Okay, it's a little bit more than a dash, but all right. And now some Lumberjack Plaid. Now, the really cool things about the distress paint is that it doesn't tend to get muddy. Everything likes to play nicely on its own and come together to form a background. I find this absolutely intriguing, but we should be able to get a really cool marbled look. Now, we're going to take the distress sprayer, give that a good spray, and I'm also going to spray my substrate, which is the Distress Mixed Media cardstock. And now we're going to swipe. Ooh, love it already. There we go. Now I'm not going to do a thing to this. I'm just going to give it a little tap, but that's pretty much it. We've got a fantastic drippy background, so all I have to do is set this aside and let it dry. And just look at that. We've got so many beautiful striations. I love this technique. So fun and really cool results. Okay, so that's our first background. Let's do one more. And this one I want to incorporate some of the silver, and we're going to go for some classic winter colors. So I'm thinking we've got lovely shades of blue to play with. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Prize ribbon. That would look great. Prize ribbon's a good color. Oh, this one also is brand new. Huh. I guess I bought distress paint recently and just hadn't opened it. Okay. Well, good. Today's a good day to get that out and start playing. Okay, and put that on here. And I want one more color. And I'm thinking, let's go with some Villainous Potion. That is very vibrant. Okay. Okay, that should be good. Now let's give this a really good spray. That's interesting. The Villainous Potion is a little clumpy, but we can make it work. All right, and we'll give our surface a good spray. More mixed media. And smush and swipe. Ooh, very pretty. I like that. So I'm just going to let that drip a little bit. And we've got quite the background here. Now I am just spraying a little bit to get that purple moving. It's a little reluctant, but that's okay. Okay. And pretty much again, I can just let this sit and let it work its own magic. Very, very pretty. Okay. So I just need to do a quick little bit of cleanup and we'll be right back. Now let's play with some Distress Spray Stain and the metallic sprays. So we're going to create a couple of quick backgrounds and then we'll use these spray right over the top. So I am thinking, well, I want to go with something very green and you know what? A speckled egg. Let's go with those two. So I'm just going to spread that and then add color. I'm thinking this could make like a really good piece to die cut a tree out of later. So let's see how this goes. Okay. Ooh, it's a little bit of a mess, but okay. Just clean as we go. That's all right. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast forward and we're going to do a little bit more alteration to this and then I will drizzle in just a dash of the spray metallic brushed pewter. So here's the background that we created with some of the Distress metallic spray. And as you can tell, it's very opaque, very, very shiny. So let's go ahead. We're going to make one more background, but this time we're going to mix the metallic spray right in as we are spraying. So more Distress watercolor cardstock. And this time we're going to be using some prize ribbon and a dash of chipped sapphire. And now we'll add in the tarnished brass. Let's see how this goes. Again, giving it a really good shake. And let's see. Oh, that's interesting. That schnozzle is... Oh, there it is. I thought it was clogged, but it's not. Ooh, that is pretty. Now I just want to move that around a little bit with some water, but wow. I like the effect that we're getting here, but I kind of want to see if I can't layer a little bit over this. Ooh, that is neat. Okay, so I'm just going to dry this off and then we'll take a closer look. Here is the background with the metallic spray stain, and I love that. It's a little bit more subtle, and we got a really nice blend going, so that is pretty cool. I'll set that background aside. Now let's take a look at the mica sprays, and we're going to be looking at the tarnished brass with the brushed pewter. So again, we need to formulate a background. So mixed media cardstock, good spray, and you know what? I want to go really simple with this one. Let's do some prize ribbon and some speckled egg. All right, and I'm just going to drip some water on here and add a dash of the mica. All right, let's dry this off and see what we get. Let's take a closer look. So we can see a light shimmer over the top, and this is the mica spray. Just mica, no added colors. That's very pretty. It's kind of wispy. All right, so I'll set that one aside. Now let's dive into some of the more recent additions to the line, which would include the Distress Mica Spray Stains. And I want to start with Decayed, and we're going to go for something really bright. All right, so we need some more watercolor cardstock. There we go. And let's see, I want some lumberjack plaid and a dash of mustard seed. There we go. All right. Okay, and that's beautiful color. All right, and just a little bit of water, and now a little bit of Decayed over the top. Okay, so let's put this on fast forward as we dry this off, and then we're going to dive into a second background featuring some of the Phantom Mist. Let's take a look at our two backgrounds using the Distress Mica Spray Stains. And as you can see, we've got beautiful, beautiful color, lots and lots of shimmer, and it blends in beautifully with the traditional Distress palette. And here's our second one where we sprinkled some frozen fog over the top, and just, I love that shine. Very magical. All right, we're moving right along to Distress Spritz. Spritz in and of itself is its own unique kind of magic. So I'm going for kind of a snowy look, a little bit of a vintagey vibe, and let's see what we get. I'm going to start off with some forest moss. And then, let's see, we'll add in another green, thinking maybe some rustic wilderness. Let's see, where did that wander off to? There we go. There, it's a nice green. And then just a teeny tiny bit of iced spruce, just to darken things up just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna drip a little bit of water. There we go. All right, I'm gonna dry this off and we'll be right back. Now let's add a touch of Spritz, and we're going to be using some hickory smoke. So we're just going to do a slow squeeze and get a lovely shimmer over the top. Okay, I think we're good. Now let's just pick this up and take a look. Ooh, now that is just super, super sparkly. Like I said before, the mica in the hickory smoke is slightly different from all the other Spritz. So this is really, really cool. All right, so that wraps it up for our basic backgrounds. Now we're going to be looking at a little bit of stenciling. So I have a couple of ready-made backgrounds that I'm going to be stenciling over the top of so that we can get a look at how the distress plays with other mediums like Ranger embossing powders. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to clear the deck, and I'll need some scrap paper. Okay. Just give the surface a quick wipe. So I've already got this lovely background, and we're going to be playing with the Ranger embossing powders and one of this year's Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stencils, and I have to go with this one. This is THS 187, and this is the really cool bauble tree. So we're going to apply some texture paste through the stencil, and then we're going to sprinkle embossing powder over the top. So got my paste, and now I just need a palette knife. There we go. So let's go ahead, open this up, and run this through. Now the texture paste is going to act like an added adhesive because we'll be able to get the embossing powder to stick to it. Now the only downside is that we'll have to sprinkle, and then we'll need to let this sit for a bit while the texture paste has a chance to dry. But that's okay. We've got plenty of other things to do while we wait for this to dry. All right, so that's all spread on. Just scraping the extra right back into the jar, and we'll do a lift. Beautiful. And very quick cleanup. All right, set that off to the side. Put the lid back on, put the rubber band back on to help keep this fresh, and set that off to the side for the moment. So we've got paper, we've got our two embossing powders, we've got Ranger Gold and Ranger Copper. And we're just going to do a little bit of sprinkling. So just grab that in my fingers, a little pinch and twist, and we'll see how this looks. All right, that's going to be lovely and vintagey. And we'll just finish off with a dash more of the gold. Oh, why not? A little bit more of the copper too. All right, I think we're covered. So now we're just going to give that a little tap. Make sure that everything is covered. Okay, and I think we're pretty good. That looks great. So we'll set this aside and let it dry, and we'll come back later to do some embossing. All right, so we mostly have copper on here, so I feel pretty good about dumping that right back in the jar. There we go. All right. So let's put the lids back on. Now we're going to also look at a couple of other ways to use some of these shiny mediums. I do want to jump back to the paint for a moment, and this also is going to take a little bit of time to dry. So we've got these fantastic die cuts and we have these 3D wings here. Now for the wings, we can easily alter them. And I want to do a combination of paint and spritz. So I'm just putting a little bit of the distress paint on there. This is brushed pewter, and we're just making our wings silver. But they're not just going to be silver. We're going to spritz them as well to make them extra silver. Okay, so I'll just quickly wipe that up. Now, you could have applied that with a paintbrush. I was in a hurry and just went right in with my fingers. So we've got the wings. Now, how about a little bit of spritz? So again, hickory smoke. And this makes things extra, extra shiny. Okay, so I'll set this aside, let it dry, and we'll come back later and check out our sparkling wings. All right, now we'll just clear our surface and move right on down the list. Next, we're going to be pulling in some stencils and the brushed pewter distress paint. We've made some lovely backgrounds, and I want to add to this. We're going to be adding some snowflakes over the top. So we're going to take our stencil, and then we're just going to take a little piece of sponge. Now, I love using sponges for dabbing paint through. They are easy to cut to size, and then you can usually use both sides before they get a little bit crusty. But we're just going to take ourselves a good chunk of sponge and a splash of paint off to the side, and then we'll start gently dabbing through the stencil to add these beautiful silvery snowflakes to our background. Okay, so let's go ahead and start dabbing. Now, the main thing when dabbing is that you want to go gentle. You don't want to overload your sponge, because then you could definitely get some ooze through the stencil. So just a little bit of paint and then just tap. We don't need to really smush, because again, then we'll have a lot of paint overflow. So we're just going to work through the stencil, and we're going to keep tapping until we have our lovely snowflakes. Now, another nice thing about the distress paint, it dries pretty quickly. And if we go with a thin layer, then we don't have to worry too much about paint ooze or this taking forever to dry. So we're just going to keep gently tapping all around as we work our way up and down the stencil with those beautiful snowflakes. Okay, and we are just about done, and that would be pretty much 2/3 of the card. Now, the other thing, when using the stencil and paint, it's pretty easy to clean the stencil. All we need is a spritz of water, and we can literally just wipe this down with a paper towel. So cleanup on this is going to be nice and easy. If we don't, then we're going to have permanently colored stencils. Okay. So I want to do one more row just to complete this background, and then this background will be done. So just taking more paint and gently tapping through the stencil to get the rest of our snowflakes. Okay, there we go. That should give us all of our lovely metallic snowflakes. Let's take a look. And here we are. I love the snowflake background. Very, very fun. So now we're just going to move our background out of the way, and we're going to have a little bit of quick cleanup. So I've just sprayed the stencil with a bit of water, and now I can just take my cloth and wipe that right off. Now, if you don't mind paint on there, you could leave it, but I do try to keep the stencils relatively clean. And we'll just quickly clear down our work surface while we are here. There we go. So now it's time to move on to the next thing. Now let's bring in the texture paste opaque, and we're going to be doing some more stenciling on this background. So the nice thing about backgrounds, sometimes you have backgrounds you love, and sometimes you have backgrounds that are kind of meh. This is kind of a meh background, but this is very easy to elevate to a background that I'm going to love. We're just going to stencil some falling stars over the top and add some metallic embossing powder to them. Stenciling is a great way to jazz up your backgrounds and add some visual interest. So we're just going to line this up. I'll open up the jar of texture paste, and we're going to scrape the texture paste right through the stencil. Now the texture paste is great because it's got a wonderful consistency. It's kind of like frosting, so it's very easy to manipulate and it spreads very smoothly through stencils. And I absolutely love that. As you can see, it spreads so smoothly. It's great. So we're just going to scrape that through, and then I will put the extra back in the jar, and then we can start sprinkling with our embossing powder. Okay, and we're looking pretty good here. So put the extra back in the jar, and then we can lift and see how we did with our stenciling. Okay. Oh, just putting the rubber band right back on the jar, and now let's do the reveal. Okay, pretty good. I'm liking this. And I'll have to remember that I need to wash that stencil right away. Otherwise, it's going to dry and we'll never get it off. So let's sprinkle the embossing powder. We're just doing a straight dump. And oh, okay, it looks like there was a bit of a paint splotch that wasn't quite dry. So we have an extra clump of embossing powder on here. Well, not a big deal. I'm just going to try to brush some of that off with the handle of a paintbrush, and then we'll go in and emboss this. So that's looking better. I just want to continue to clean this off a little bit more to get the extra embossing powder removed, and then the backgrounds should be good. And the thing is, this is a background, so even though we've got a bit of an unexpected splotch, the background is going to be in the background, and I'll probably cover that up with another layer anyway. So this is going to be fine no matter what's going on. All right, let's go ahead and clean up. For our next way to add some metallic to elements, we're going to be pulling in these two pieces from Ideology and some sparkle texture paste. Now this is going to give us a great vintagey sparkle over the top of these pieces. So I'm just going right into my fingers, treating this like collage medium, and just spreading that right over the top of this piece of ephemera, and it's going to give us some beautiful sparkle. So you can sparkle anything as long as it's got a porous surface. This doesn't work so well on glass or plastics. It's kind of a little bit peely, but you could just be aware that it could have a little bit of peel. All right, so there we go. That's one. Now let's take care of the other one. And this is going to leave behind some beautiful vintagey sparkle. So this is a very quick and easy way to add some sparkle to other things. And I just love playing with metallic elements. It is definitely fun and very holiday themed. So there we go. Oh. All right. So we've got these, and we can check back on them later to see all of that beautiful metallic sparkle that the paste is going to leave behind. And don't worry, the paste will dry clear once it's had a chance to dry. Okay, so set these aside and check on these later. Now we're going to quickly dive into Distress crayons, and then we'll see about putting together a small project of all the elements that we've been creating with today. All right, so we've got a tag and we've got some crayons. And I've also got a stencil. So for this stencil, I've got these lovely candy cane stripes, and this is THMS 095. So what we're going to be doing is just a little bit of blending using the stencil. And of course, we're going to need to just kind of tape this down to make sure that none of the pieces run away on us. And yes, I've got some grip. Perfect. Grip is going to be the best thing to make sure that the tag doesn't move. So just putting down a piece of grip. Got our tag, which definitely isn't going anywhere, and then the stencil, which I do want to tape. All right, and we are good. So I'm going to be using a combination of metallic crayons and the pearlescent crayons. So this is the mica crayon, this is the brushed pewter, then I've got some frozen fog, and I've got tart cranberry. So we're just going to use these to color in the stencil. Okay, and we just kind of do a little bit of a mix-up. So a little bit here and there, and we'll just kind of alternate these colors and see what we get. Okay. And now some of the tart cranberry. Hopefully this will turn out really pretty. I like these colors together, and I thought that'd be fun to see what we get. So I'm just kind of trying to push the crayon between the lines of the stencil and then smush it down with my finger. So see how it works. If it's not perfect, that's okay. We're just playing, just seeing what's going to happen. Okay. Pretty good. And we're already halfway there, which is great. Okay, and back to the beautiful white. I love the colors that we have here. They are fun. I'm very curious to see how the mica is going to look next to the newer pearlescent crayons. But so far so good. It looks really pretty. Okay, good. All right, almost done. That went pretty fast. So that's good. Almost there. All right, and the last bit. Well, I think we did pretty good. Now, just have to lift this up and see what we have. Either way, I'll make an interesting background. All right, let's lift. It works. It's definitely a bit grungy, but I like it. So here we are. We've got our mica and pearlescent background. Pretty cool. All right, so moving right along, let's take a look at our last metallic technique for today. And this is going to be incorporating distress paint, and we're going to be doing a bit of layering. Now the layering is going to be the Tim Holtz stamp paint layer technique. And for this, we're going to need to bring in the Tim Holtz stamping platform by Tonic. I love this, and it is one of my favorite tools to use. So we're going to want some, I guess, mixed media. Let's go mixed media. Why not? Mixed media cardstock. And we're just going to open this up. I'll place that here. Put our magnets down. And here's the stamp set. We're going to be using stamp set CMS 458 Department Store. I love this one. The stamps are fun, the details great, and of course, we will be pulling out the bell stamp and making these silver. All right, so these are going to go here. Now, one thing I'm kind of pondering is like, do I want to cut these out later and use this for something else? Probably yes. So let's try to save some of that mixed media and just stamp them up here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do will be to add some Distress Archival Black Soot ink. And I'm just going to stamp that. I've got one of the mini ones. Now the first layer stamping doesn't need to be perfect. This is just kind of the outline to let me know where everything is so I can paint in our colors, and then we'll go back and stamp back in the detail. So I'm just going to move things around a little bit. Okay. There we go, good firm pressure. Excellent. And we'll just pull that back a moment and take a look at what we have. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't stamp as well as I wanted it to. So I'm going to go back right now with more ink and see what we can do about that. So this is the nice thing about the stamping platform. If for some reason something isn't stamping out the way you want it to, you can easily go back and stamp again without having to worry about repositioning everything and trying to line things up perfectly. The stamping platform takes care of that. Okay. Okay, so we've got our image, and now it is time to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a water brush, and we're going to start with the silver paint, and then we're going to go from there. And we're just going to drop that right on here and move that around with the water brush. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this part on fast forward as we paint and layer. Here is the completed stamping, layering, painting technique. And look at those gorgeous silver bells. We have got a lovely addition of metallic into the stamped image. So now it is time to put all of the things that we have talked about into a card. So let's clear the deck and start building. Let's take a look at the two cards that we put together using all of these wonderful metallic elements. So on here we have the dried sparkle paste, and that is gorgeous. Then we've got some metallic craft stock on the ice skates, and we also added in some metallic ribbon. Now in the background we have one of the distress paint backgrounds, and over it we have got a layer of stenciled metallic distress paint. So we have our May Your Days Be Merry and Bright card. Then we did a second card because why not? We embossed that stenciled tree that was embossed with gold and copper Ranger embossing powders, and we added another of the sparkled ideology elements. This is with the sparkle paste, very, very sparkly, and we added more craft stock on here. Then in the background we also have some sparkling ribbon. So these are our two card examples using lots of metallics. So let's do a quick review of all of the things that we have been playing with for this video. We started out by making lots and lots of backgrounds, as well as a swatch to show you what we can do with our metallic elements. So here's our swatch where we took a look at everything from sprays, spritzes, micas, crayons, and everything in between. And look at all that variety of shine. Pretty neat. So first we started off with some craft stock that we altered with just a dash of Distress Crayon. Then we jumped into painted backgrounds, and we have some paint marbling. Very, very pretty. Now let's see, this is another paint marbled background, but then over the top we added some embossing and texture paste. Then we went into sprays. So this is the metallic spray. It's a very opaque spray. Pretty cool. And this one is another of the opaque metallic sprays. And then we went into Spritz and mica spray stains. And this is a great example of a mica spray stain background. So much beautiful shine. And this is Distress Spritz. And you can tell that this is the magical hickory smoke because of all of that added shine. And over here, this is another one more of that beautiful hickory smoke. And then we had a little play with Distress Crayons through a stencil. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner for fun and exploration with metallics. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and until next time, happy crafting!